On behalf of Penware and the members and partners of the Pacific Northwest Building Resilience Coalition, thank you all for attending the webinar. Under the theme of achieving resilience and climate targets, the Pacific Northwest Building Resilience Coalition is a gathering of trade organizations representing hundreds of private companies that are committed to furthering the planning, development, and the construction of homes, buildings, communities, and associated infrastructure better able to survive, recover from, and adapt to the growing impacts of climate change and an ever-evolving urban and physical environment. So why are we here? As governments move towards rebuilding resilient infrastructure and economies after COVID, we must ensure that recovery plans can shape our current and future economies in ways that are clean, green, safe, and above all, resilient. With consideration of state, province, and pending federal legislation such as Washington State's Climate Commitment Act and state, provincial, and federal Buy Clean legislation, building material manufacturing will require adaptation to stricter greenhouse gas emission regulations and embodied carbon thresholds. The environmental impact of all building materials during manufacture, construction, while in the use phase, the end-of-life phase, and beyond will play an important role in attaining our GHG goals going forward from a life cycle perspective. Cement and concrete provide resilience to the effects of climate change while reducing CO2 emissions and attaining GHG reduction targets. The current crisis is an opportunity for a profound paradigm shift to a more sustainable economy that works for both the planet and its inhabitants. First of all, I'd like to go back and thank each of the presenters for their work to improve our environment through pathways to resilience and carbon neutrality. So to recap the series, in week one, we heard from Dr. Andrew Minson, Rick Bohan, and Adam Auer representing the global and North American cement and concrete industries regarding building the future. What will we be building and what materials will we build with? We heard about climate ambition and the industry's pathway to carbon neutrality in 2050. The circular economy that reduces waste and encourages reuse and recycle. We heard about the new technologies in the cement industry, such as lower carbon blended cements, and how there is a movement to implement CCS, carbon capture, storage, and sequestration within the industry. We also heard from Senator Mike Cuff and MLA Richard Gottfried, and how they are wrestling with climate change and greenhouse gas reduction targets in the state of Montana and the province of Alberta. In week two, Tian Peng educated us on the current and future innovations of concrete, such as the use of supplementary cementitious materials in lieu of higher carbon products that reduce the embodied carbon content of concrete. The need to switch from prescriptive specifications to performance-based specifications in order to minimize cement content to what is necessary to satisfy engineered requirements. How concrete in the built environment actually sequesters carbon through a natural process known as carbonation, therefore becoming a carbon sink. Also enhanced carbon capture through injection of CO2 into concrete in the batching cycle in order to mineralize the CO2 with the aggregate, and how each of these technologies does not stand alone and that we must use all of them together in order to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. We heard from Dr. Randolph Kirchain that managing the GHG footprint of concrete requires a multi-pronged approach, reducing the footprint of cement production, leveraging opportunities in concrete production and use, and identifying net negative applications. How concrete in use today contributes to GHG reduction in the future by improving fuel economy, reducing emissions on our roads through PVI, pavement vehicle interaction. Also thermal mass for heating, cooling our buildings, and the reflective characteristics of concrete known as albedo that creates radiative forcing and alters the GHG emissions of adjacent buildings and vehicles. He also elaborated on significance of carbonation and natural reuptake of CO2 by exposed surfaces of concrete as a means of permanent sequestration. We also heard from Andrew Pate Salmon, who updated us on the PNBRC Penware supported research at UVic entitled Penware Roadmap to Resilient Ultra-Low Energy Buildings in 2030, whose objective is to interweave the synergies of building design solutions for new and existing buildings to co-optimize building energy efficiency and emissions. Life cycle assessment of building materials and their embodied carbon and resilience to withstand and adapt to anticipated risks associated with climate change, namely overheating due to extreme weather events. We heard from Evan Reese of the USRC his excellent presentation that seemingly ties all of these webinars together, reminding us that we must build better resilient buildings and infrastructure that can better withstand the challenges of climate change, as well as other adverse events resulting from natural processes of the earth. We must understand the place that buildings have in our community, our corporate and family resilience, and be able to quantify the social and economic returns of resilient design to all stakeholder groups. We also heard from Eric Holdeman about how today's webinar focuses on many things that are essential to the world he lives in as the director of the Center for Regional Disaster Resilience. So in closing, I would like to thank our partner Penware for all of your support for the delivery of this professional webinar series. I would like to thank our speakers, three gentlemen, thank you very much. On behalf of Penware, thank you for joining us and good day.